What makes Christian education special? As you know, there are many educators, and as pastors, usually we look in the church and find who comes from an educational background, and these become our Sunday school teachers. They teach our children. We just supply them with the right syllabus, and we supply them with a Sunday school superintendent to give supervision and oversight to the department. But beyond that, what really makes Christian education so important? We want to reflect and say we have come a long way in Christian education because the church is based on foundations. These foundations go a long way back. Education didn't start today, it started way back. Those of us who are Pentecostals, we want to go to the day of Pentecost and say the church started there. Therefore, Christian education must have started there. But there are also our friends who are from the covenant theology background, and they look at the first covenant, which literally brought a gathering of people together to the Lord, and that is the Sinai covenant. So as God covenanted with Israel, calling them out of Egypt to be a peculiar people, a special nation, because of that, he gave them laws which would distinguish them from those nations that surrounded them. And they were not short of people to look up to. They came from Egypt, and Egypt was a major power, a major educational powerhouse. Egypt had an explanation of the universe as they knew it. But as they came out, they came to the desert, and there God began to also give them a perspective on who they were, what the universe was like, who God was, and what their responsibility to God, to the nation, and to one another was. So as we look at Christian education, we could anchor it between those two poles, New Testament church or the church in the Old Testament. Both are churches of God. So when we talk Christian education, what are we expecting? There is a lot of things which are called education, a lot of efforts called education. And because of that, there are many people who are confused about what exactly should be Christian education. The very fact that I teach in a college and I'm a Christian, does that make me a Christian educator? Or do I have to do something more? Of course, the field is large, and we want to say that the people who work in education, in academia, and are Christians, and they bring Christian values there, yes, there are spaces like that where people can work and say, I am a Christian educator. But in this case, we're talking about education or teaching in the church. Teaching in the church differs in many ways. One way is that when people sign up to teach in the church and receive training to help them teach in the church, they are not going to sign up like people teaching public school. In public school, you sign up for teaching primary school or kindergarten, or you sign up for teaching high school. And beyond that, you have higher education, tertiary education lecturers who are also teachers. And all of these teach a certain amount in a certain space in the life of a human being. But the Christian educator is charged with the care of the child, right from the cradle to the grave. So in this space in between, the Christian educator has to stand with the member, and as they stand with members, they have to be very careful to bring to them something that will help them to be transformed from one degree of glory to another. God is at work in them, and God is also at work in the Christian educator. But the Christian educator, his role is to come alongside the member of the church and help them to bring godly principle, godly objectives, and help the members of the church to grow deeper in the things of God, have deep roots, and also have a heavenly perspective on everything. So those things are important. And to be able to do that, Christian education is also different in the sense that the foundations for Christian education are essentially different. When we talk about the worldviews that surround us, there are many people coming from different worldviews, and the worldviews they have consequences. Their basic belief system and the worldviews that are built on those belief systems, the value system that come on top of that, they give us the education systems that they use. And when we look at the educational objective, the paideia, what are they aiming for? What are they trying to produce? What kind of person are they looking for? At the end of their educational process, who are they looking for? What are they trying to produce? So for the Christian educator, the end product is a person who is being transformed from one degree of glory to another. We believe that the calling of the human being is to be a reflector of the image of God. Therefore, men and women are supposed to be facilitated by the educators that are in the church so that they can proceed well on the path that God has designed for each one. So the Christian educator has to cover a larger scope. We differ from public education educators because of the scope. We differ also because of the content. The content of what we teach is the Bible. That's the main source of our content. And of course, because of that, we will look quite different from the public education participant. Therefore, our didactics might resemble our pedagogy, andragogy, whatever strategy we have to educate the people, we have a bigger scope. We have to find ways of communicating to preschoolers, primary scholars, tertiary scholars, senior citizens, people who are shut in because they are too old to attend a Sunday school. And as a Christian educator, we also have to be in tune with God. It is very important because you cannot teach the truth of God without the Spirit of God. You cannot teach the Word of God without insight, revelation. So for that reason, we have to be students of the Word of God, but we are also required to walk with God. So there is a special requirement on the Christian educator that may not be shared by public school educators. So who is equal to a task like this? The answer is none of us. But because God has called some to be teachers in the church, God has called some to be people who are going to build the church by sinking good foundations, giving them sound doctrine, a doctrine that will keep them fruitful in their lives, a doctrine that will protect them and cause them to be wise in their dealings with their neighbors, in their dealings with authorities, in their business dealings. So it is that kind of mandate that comes to a person who is in Christian education. In the Church of God, we consider it a calling, and we even credential it and give it an ordained minister's credential because we take it seriously. But there are other people who feel like Christian education is just something that you don't even need serious preparation for. As long as you can teach something in the church, you are a Christian educator. And I would like to beg to differ with that kind of a position. I want to say, those of you who are taking this course, take it seriously because God takes His word seriously. We are warned in James that let not too many of us be teachers because we'll even be judged more seriously, more strictly than the other people. Shalom.